What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again, week 4 with my favorite waiver wire pickups of the week. Some guys that go ahead and pick up maybe for some long-term upside on your benches, or maybe some plug-and-play guys if you're struggling at wide receiver, if you have an injury there, or at running back as well, to kind of give you some stability as we go forward in this fantasy season. So before we get going, be sure to drop a like in the video. It really helps me out so I can keep these pickups coming your way every single week. If you happen to be new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button to continue to get these videos. I also upload DFS plays every week if you play daily fantasy and all that good stuff. So definitely keep a lot there. And you can follow me on Twitter at MoneyWebby if you want to follow up with some more like specific questions on who to drop and who to pick up and how to construct your roster going forward. So definitely do that. And running back is going to be first up. So I got some guys here that might not be available in your league, but there's not as many guys that have popped on the radar this week. There wasn't like an injury to running back really. And some of the other guys I don't really have as much interest in. So these are the guys I would go and pick up if they are available. First up, Alfred Morris. He was dropped in a few leagues. He's down to 53% owned. And Jimmy Garoppolo just got hurt. So that's going to make them a little bit more run heavy. Obviously, the offense would probably lose some production. They won't be as like efficient, but I think Alfred Morris can still have some value as like a running back 3, maybe a flex option for your team. He still got 14 carries yesterday when they were losing the whole entire game. Like they were down around 2 touchdowns, even more for the majority of that game. So 14 carries is pretty solid. He was pretty active in the receiving game the last 2 weeks. Not as much this week. Here, I mean, against Kansas City, he didn't get any catches, but I think he can still get like a few grabs maybe and get around 10 to 15 carries in the offense, and he is the red zone or the goal line back for this team, so he can sneak in some touchdowns. So he does still have some fantasy appeal going forward. So if you're struggling at running back, you can go ahead and pick him up. And also, Bilal Powell is kind of similar to Alfred Morris, but he doesn't have the touchdown upside. He got 14 carries as well on Thursday night. He went 14 for 73. He's much more effective than Isaiah Crowell. So if that continues, which I think it probably will, I think he's the better runner than Crowell. He could push for like 15, maybe even upwards of 20 carries per game. But the thing that's holding him back is that he's not getting the goal line work. Crowell has been pretty damn good in the goal line opportunities. He's scoring on most of them. So that kind of limits Powell's upside. But he still can get some receptions. So it kind of depends on what you want. I think Powell has more upside going forward, but Alfred Morris is a safer option. So I'd probably lean Powell actually going forward. But he's 60% owned, so he might not be available in your league. But he can definitely be a low-end running back 2, running back 3 for your team going forward. And for my third guy, upside bench stash, like I mentioned last week, but he's up to 64% owned. So Aaron Jones here in this Packers offense, one of the best in the league. If he can just get some more snaps and win this role as the lead dog, he's going to be very good. But he only got 25% of the snaps this past week, so definitely not good. If you want to hold, if he wants to be a fantasy viable option, he needs to get close to upwards of like 40 to 50% of the snaps. So we'll see how this shakes up in the upcoming weeks. He was the most effective runner with 7 yards per carry, 6 for 42. So that's actually pretty solid considering that they came out and said that like he's behind Williams and Montgomery in the depth chart. The fact that he still got 6 carries is pretty promising for his like long-term appeal. I think every week that goes by, they're going to want to lean on him a little bit more just because he can give this offense the most pop. So I would definitely go ahead and get him as a nice little bench stash if he is available in your league. And for my fourth guy, Austin Eckler, I mentioned him like every single week so far, but he is more of a kind of a flex option if you're struggling, and then he can be a long-term kind of stash if Melvin Gordon does get hurt. He'll be like a running back 1 if Melvin Gordon does go down. So I wouldn't go crazy on picking him up. He is more of a bench kind of guy, and if you're really struggling, you can throw him in at flex. And for my last guy, Buck Allen, this guy is just punching in touchdowns week after week. He's actually being the goal line back for this Ravens team. Didn't expect that with Alex Collins on the roster. But still, that's going to give you some good fantasy production if he's able to get these touchdowns every single week. And he does have some receiving ability. He's gotten 13 catches so far in the first 3 weeks. So he's pretty solid in definitely full point PPR leagues. He can give you some production there and get you a touchdown like every single week if he does punch in his opportunities. So those are the running backs I would go after. The first three I definitely prefer over Ecular and Buck Allen. I would definitely go Powell, then Alfred Morris, and Aaron Jones. It depends on how your roster is going. Like if you have like 3 running backs that you feel confident in starting, and you don't really need a starting running back, more of an upside guy, I would prefer to go Aaron Jones. But if you need a guy like, if you need a running back in your lineup right away, then you got to go with Powell and Alfred Morris. So that's what I would do. And for wide receiver now, the first guy up, Quincy Enunwa. He might not be available in your league, but if he is, this is the number 1 guy to go ahead and get. He's shown great rapport with Sam Darnold, the number 1 target, definitely in this offense going forward. Really good for full point PPR, and he's looked really good this year. Like he's pretty much a slot receiver on roids. Like he's just like trucking guys after he gets the ball. So I think he's going to be a wide receiver 2, like a low-end wide receiver 2 the rest of the year in full-point PPR. So definitely go and get him. And then John Brown. Now this guy looks like the number 1 option for the Ravens. I mentioned him the last 2 weeks as well. He's up to 63% owned, so he could be available in your league. And the guy's got 9 and 10 targets the last 2 games. So he's definitely going to be a big part of this Ravens offense as long as he can stay healthy. Another guy that should be like a wide receiver 3 going forward. Really good ability in that offense. And then Mike Williams showing some great just athleticism and big play ability again last week. He had 2 touchdowns, like 80 yards on just a few grabs, and he had 7 targets. So he's just getting more and more opportunity in this Chargers offense, and it should stay the same. I mean, they invested a lot in this kid. They got him with the top 10 pick in the draft. They traded up to get him. So they definitely love him. I think he's going to be getting like the majority of the snaps going forward as a wide receiver 2 on this offense. Last week, he had 26 of the 30 passing down snaps. So he's definitely solidifying himself in this offense. I think he's going to be a wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside going forward. If he continues to make these big plays, he'll probably finish as like the number 1 touchdown guy on this Chargers offense. So he could be like 8 touchdowns, maybe even upwards of 10 with like no tight end play on this Chargers team. Like he's a great red zone threat, and he can just make those huge, just kind of jump ball plays around like these deep ball kind of plays where he just goes up and gets it in the red zone. So that's another great option. So those are the 3 guys I would definitely try to go out and get if they are available in Enunwa, John Brown, and then Mike Williams. And the rest of these guys are more kind of speculation. Can be a wide receiver 3 going forward, but they're a little bit more cloudy of situations. So Anthony, I don't know why I wrote Anthony, but that's Antonio Callaway. He's 33% owned in leagues, and this guy's a great talent coming out of college. He's probably the best route runner in this draft, and he looked pretty good again on Thursday night. It's just that Tyrod Taylor couldn't hit him on a deep pass. He was open for like a 70-yard touchdown if he did hit him, but Tyrod underthrew it by a mile. And now that Baker Mayfield is taking over this offense, I think that's just going to make the passing game for this team just much better. They're going to probably get past the ball a little bit more. So Callaway, I think he's the second target guy in this offense behind Jarvis Landry going forward. I think Njoku could be a solid little play in this offense as well. He'll probably get a few more targets, but I think Callaway's is the best weapon on the outside, and then with Jarvis on the inside, he can open some things up for him. So he got 10 targets, on Thursday night. Just that some of the targets from Tyrod weren't like catchable at all, so struggled there. But with Baker Mayfield, like I said, I think he can be a low-end wide receiver 3 going forward. And then Calvin Ridley is 44% owned. Had a crazy good game. I actually mentioned him in my GPP video, how he had a really good matchup against the Saints this week, and he went absolutely off. So with Julio Jones being shadowed in some of these games by like Marcus Lattimore, like we saw this past week, I think Calvin Ridley is going to have really good games because he's going to get more work going his way and stuff like that. So he's probably going to be inconsistent week to week. Like if Julio Jones has a really good matchup and if Julio is going off, then Ridley is going to be kind of the odd man out. But like I think these guys are going to switch up like their big week. So he's going to be inconsistent, but he can have like wide receiver 2 upside a few weeks. And I think that kind of makes him like an inconsistent wide receiver 3 going forward. So I wouldn't go crazy going to pick him up, but still, he's a nice guy if your wide receivers are struggling as like a low-end wide receiver 3 going forward. Like Enunwa, John Brown, Mike Williams and the top 3 guys, like I mentioned, like they're more safe and consistent week in, week out. But Ridley, kind of maybe more matchup dependent. I think he can be really good, though. Looked really good against the Saints with some of his routes. He kind of had a nasty double move. So that's my 5th guy. For my last guy, Tyler Boyd, kind of surprised me this year with how well he's doing. So obviously, I think this could change for Boyd going forward. He has been kind of inconsistent in the past, but what he's been doing is definitely noteworthy. I mean, he's gotten 6 catches in both of the last 2 games. AJ Green is banged up, so obviously if AJ Green is out this week, then Tyler Boyd will be like a wide receiver 2 or so this week, as he'll get a lot more targets. But going forward, I wouldn't go crazy on picking him up because I don't think he has that much upside in this offense, honestly. When Joe Mixon comes back, he'll be pretty active in the receiving game. They still got Gio Bernard, still got Tyler Eifert and AJ Green. So I think he'll be like limited as like a wide receiver 4 going forward. But if you're really struggling at wide receiver and if you can't get Anunwa or any of these other guys at the top, you can go ahead and pick out Tyler Boyd, I guess, as my last option for wide receivers. And now for tight ends, not much doing, but still Eric Ebron at the top. I mention him every single week. He's going to be the goal line guy that they go to. Like, he has 6 red zone targets on the year. That's actually 5th among every receiving option in the NFL. So he's getting a good amount of looks. Wasn't able to convert this past week. Had one that actually probably should have been caught, but the defender kind of like played the ball really well and kind of picked it out of his hand. So that kind of sucked as an Ebron owner myself. But I think he has the upside going forward. Like I mentioned, if Jack Doyle gets phased out, he probably won't because the offense wasn't too great this past week, but he'll probably come back in. So Ebron, kind of a low-end tight end 1, touchdown dependent maybe going forward, but I still think he'll be able to get a good amount of touchdowns in this Colts offense, a team that desperately needs someone in the red zone. For my second guy, David Njoku. I mentioned now with Baker Mayfield, this offense is going to get a lot more effective passing the ball, and Njoku is going to get a lot more looks as Baker Mayfield. He's very accurate in the middle of the field with like these over the middle kind of routes, and we saw that as soon as he came in this game. He hit Njoku twice, I believe, for some great throws. So I think Njoku could be a guy that gets like 4 catches a week, and he can definitely get a touchdown as he's a really big physical freak in the red zone as well. So I think he'll get going. Another guy that's probably a low-end tight end 1 going forward, but he definitely has the upside to be a solid tight end 1, as tight ends are just a train wreck this year, and Njoku is a really good talent and a solid offense, I think, going forward. He could step up on the plate. And for my for my third guy, Tyler Eifert had a really good week this past week, 6 for 74 on 8 targets. Could have been a little bit affected by the fact that AJ Green went down with an injury, so that probably helped him out. So I don't really love Eifert, but like I said, it's a wasteland on tight end for waiver wire. So I'd prefer Ebron and Njoku. But if you're not able to get either of those guys, Eifert's not a bad choice as well if you're really struggling. So that is it, though, for my waiver wire pickups. You got your tight ends, wide receivers, running backs, and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to drop a like if you did. You can comment any questions you might have on the video down below on like who to drop and who to pick up, or you can do that on Twitter at MoneyWebby. And definitely subscribe if you enjoyed the video to continue to get these at the rest of the season. So good luck in the waiver wire, and we'll see you back here again next time.